Welcome everyone, we're back with another topic on Data Archiving 101 with Mark. Today we're going to discuss archiving with on-premise Exchange. Companies that rely on the archiving capabilities featured as part of their on-premise Exchange put the power to archive in the hands of each of their employees. That alone has its own risks. So hey Mark, welcome back. Great to have you for our fourth episode.
No problem, Laura. Hi everyone.
All right, so let's get started with today's discussion. So Mark, what are the risks associated when companies put the responsibility of archiving into the hands of their employees?
I suppose without stating the obvious, we are putting responsibility into the hand of our employees, which invariably can go wrong. If we have central control, there's a finite group following finite guidelines in an organization. When we hand that responsibility to everybody, it only takes one or two bad apples in order for the barrel to go stale. So it is the fact that you could have 6,000 employees all having to follow guidelines that you've set, and invariably some are going to be ignored, some are going to be picked up wrong. So there's no integrity when we pass that responsibility onto our end users, especially when we do it with an email tool. If you think about it, it is the only application in an organization where we give complete responsibility to the end users. Nobody lets their end users walk in and have their lunch in their data center or log on to the financial application and start playing around with it. But somebody can join an organization on Monday, get given the central communication tool and say, there you go, do whatever you want with that.
Very true. I'm aware that on-premise Exchange provides an EDiscovery and search capabilities, but from my knowledge, it's not until you select a particular user's mailbox, meaning if you want to search 100 users, you'll have to select 100 mailboxes. How can this impact a company? Will they be able to locate sensitive data or PII data?
Sure, yeah, you can in Exchange. In fact, you can do that e-discovery with an Exchange, and it's done through the legal hold mechanism, which was probably fine up to 2018, where you could simply set a rule to say no email is able to be purged from this email platform, and then you could search it. The problem with that is, in the post-GDPR world, we need the nuances and the GDPR manipulation built into our data sets. So it's not so much that it has problems with its search, it has problems conforming to guidelines such as right to be forgotten, right to be amended. And that's what MailMeter, and indeed why we had to bring out the latest version of MailMeter 3 years ago, was to keep up with the guidelines and rules built into the GDPR. Okay.
We all know that, I suppose, emails, volumes and attachment volumes can affect the performance and speed of reliability of email servers, which can in turn increase backup timeframes and cost. How can archiving help this?
Well, I mean, the concept of archiving or journaling mail is that a copy of all email goes into another repository, which typically is a cheaper storage location. Remember, the most expensive storage we have is on Exchange in an organization. So it allows you to say, well, if my mail's somewhere else, I don't need to keep it in Exchange. Unfortunately, for 20 years, nobody took that step to actually purge Exchange, even though they had products like ours. So a byproduct of GDPR is actually the best practice around data sets now has led people to build in appropriate workflows, i.e., aggressive retention policies on non-GDPR aware repositories like Exchange. And if you want to keep legacy data, make sure it sits in a GDPR aware repository like MailMeter. So I didn't have much success getting people to purge their email for 17 years, but GDPR is helping us do that. And as a byproduct of that, then we've massively reduced our Exchange footprint. We've massively reduced our backups on Exchange. So we've massively reduced the total cost of ownership of running it.
Okay, so I suppose probably similar to what you just said, retention management, people tend to just try and nearly ignore it, and GDPR has kind of put it at the forefront. does Exchange provide the ability to create that granular policies for retention?
It can, but typically it's given over to the end user to implement. And then we're back to end users implementing it or not implementing it, or implementing it incorrectly. So again, we want a system where we have a compliance team with the correct knowledge implementing these type of retention policies in the organization.
Okay, so you've kind of, my next question was, will the lack of retention ability pose compliance concerns, which you kind of answered?
Yeah, it comes back to credibility. You want to be watertight. Again, most of these are not an issue until you have that formal investigation and you're standing in a courtroom. Legal hold is not the same as journaling. Only journaling gives you a complete 100% copy of all of your email transactions. Legal hold or backup does not.
Okay, so we're coming near the end of our topic now, and this is a standard question that we've been asking, but what can organizations do as soon as possible in order to make sure they're not at risk of non-compliance if they're an on-premise Exchange user?
It's same answer for an awful lot of questions around this. Understand your data. Ask those pertinent questions. Where is it? What is it? Who put it there? Why did they put it there? How long do we need to keep it there? It is important now that we understand our data from a compliance point of view. We need our data to sit in GDPR aware repositories. So make sure you are culling the ones that are not, and you're moving that data into those repositories. That will make your life much easier.
Okay, and then our final question for today. Any final tips for our listeners or our viewers on the topic?
I suppose just repeat, Exchange is a brilliant communication tool. We turned it into a terrible storage device for the last 30 years. So we've always had the ability to stop that, but we now have the onus on it because of regulations and fines. We have to take that change. So my advice to people is don't fight it, actually embrace it, flip it so that it does give you the benefits of massively reducing the complexity and cost of your IT organization.
Okay, thanks, Mark, and as always, appreciate your time today. So for anyone that's looking for more information, they can visit our website at www.waterfordtechnologies.com. You can leave us a message there if you have any further questions, and we look forward to our next topic. Thanks again, Mark.
See you guys. Thanks, Laura.